Welcome to 5D University. Today's topic is the insights of the awakening. The best way I can describe this is that these are the guiding principles of the awakening process, the ascension process. So there are no rules in the fifth dimensional space in the same way that there are rules in the third dimensional space, but these are our structures. These are our guidelines, right? Our insights and our foundational principles of this awakening ascension journey. So we can always come back to these guiding principles anytime we're struggling with a transformation. Anytime we are maybe confused or we're lacking clarity on, why am I in this experience? Maybe we're in an experience that we are not loving. We have an event that is kind of very triggering to us. It is definitely like forcing us into a transformation. Basically anything that comes up on our awakening and ascension journey. We can always go to the foundational principles to re-heart us of the guidelines for how to move through this process and move through this journey. So that's my explanation. As we go through them, you'll realize you'll get exactly what I'm saying. So the first insight and the first guiding principle is that all energy must be expressed consciously or unconsciously. So this seems like a very basic principle, right? All energy must be expressed. So there is no energy in existence that is not expressed in some form. So if you are looking at your life experiences, your current environment, your current dynamics, your current situation or experience, and it's not ideal or it's not what you wish to experience, it is something that you would like to move out of. The key is to remember, okay, so how did I create this experience? How did I end up in this place? Well, all energy must be expressed. So 9 times out of 10, we manifest experiences due to our unconscious energy. There, of course, are going to be times where you're very conscious of the energy that you've put out and it is now coming back. But 9 times out of 10, it's usually an unconscious expression simply for the fact that we are in a limited state of perception here in the third dimension. And so to get to full consciousness, it has to go through many layers of deprogramming, blasting through illusions that have been built up, healing wounds and trauma. We basically have to, it's an onion layered process until we get to the core of the self, which is the pure multidimensional galactic self. And so during that process, we come to greater states of awareness of the energy that we're holding within. So a lot of people are not fully aware of the unconscious energy that they are expressing. They're very aware, and this is why the third dimensional realm is very focused on the external, right? We judge others based on their actions, based on what they say with their mouth, based on how they present to us. So we get caught up in the illusion of thinking that if we look at someone and we look at the actions they've taken in their life, and we look at the words that they speak, and we look at the way they look and how they dress and all these things, that's the conscious expression of them, right? But the unconscious expression is the energy within them that they're not aware is actually being expressed as well. But because of the limited state of perception that we've lived in for most of our experience, we have only been interacting with life on a very external level, on a very conscious expression. And we don't really see the energy beneath that. So this tends to happen when we think of, let's say we had a life experience or an event, and we are sitting there asking ourselves, how did I manifest this, right? Because I'm consciously being kind to people. I'm consciously putting love out there. I'm consciously, putting myself out there as a loving divine being. So why did I manifest this experience? Well, you have to look at the unconscious energy. Where are their unconscious beliefs? Where is their fear? Where is their wounding? Like I explained in the ego programming video, the programmings and the wounding and the trauma are often expressed unknowingly. We don't really notice that they're expressing themselves. And that's how we unconsciously manifest experiences and people and events in order for that to mirror to us what is hidden within ourselves. So the external world is really just a game. It's a game of being able to look outside of yourself and see what is reflecting to you about your internal state, about energy within that is not able to be seen, right? So that's the first insight, because we can always come back to that, okay? We can always come back to saying, what is the unconscious energy within me that is manifesting itself and being shown to me? If it's something we don't like, if it's something that's we perceive as negative, if it's something that's doesn't seem to be enjoyable and positive, why did we manifest? And this is so that we become fully conscious, so that everything we express is conscious. There's no unconscious energy being seeping through, right? The next insight is that all pain, illness, and disease has a root energetic cause. So when we are talking about healing, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, every pain, illness, and disease has an energetic root cause. That's the way energy manifests. So energy first manifests as an idea, as a thought, as something in the etheric, right? Something intangible. And then as it becomes more reinforced or supported, that energy comes into physical manifestation. So by the time we've reached the point where we're experiencing pain, illness, or disease, the root cause of that, which has its root in either a lower thought, a lower belief, a lower emotion, it has been reinforced for so long that it now has become physically manifested, right? Because I know a lot of people out there, we talk a lot about manifestation. There's a lot of people out there that talk about manifesting and thoughts create reality. And then I've also seen the opposing argument where people are like, well, that's a very fearful way of putting things out there, because, if you tell everyone that every thought they have manifests as reality, then the people who are struggling with lower thought and struggling with lower emotion are only going to spin themselves deeper, right? Because it's like, oh God, I don't want to have these lower thoughts, they're going to manifest. I don't want to have these lower emotions, they're going to manifest. So we take the balanced approach to this, right? There's a buffer time, the lag between the thought and the emotion and the belief and the manifestation of it. That lag is what we call the third dimension, right? The lag between 3D and 5D, that's the lag. And so the truth is that we're buffered. We are buffered to a certain extent. It is not that if you're struggling with lower thoughts or emotions, don't panic and think, oh my God, it's going to express itself, it's going to manifest, and now you're going deeper into the fear. There's a buffer time, right, for this. So when we are aware that we're having lower thoughts or emotions and our intent is to heal them and to clear them, that buffer is there for us. We're not, Source is not seeking to punish us. She is aware that we're struggling through deprogramming and exiting the illusion. So it's not a punishment. And again, pain, illness, or disease is also not a punishment. It's simply a reflection of a thought, a lower emotion, or a lower belief system that has been reinforced for such a long period of time that it has no choice but to express into physical manifestation. Again, this goes back to all energy must be expressed. So if you're in that state of physical, emotional, healing and you have pain, illness, or disease, there's no judgment in this. The awareness is the first step. And then you get to the energetics that are deeper within that. And as you focus on healing those energetics, you assist your body with healing. And of course, that's a process as well. And it's for all people to follow their guidance on what is best and highest on their path to healing. But no matter what you're doing as far as assisting yourself with healing, no matter what avenue you're taking, there's no judgment in it. But just incorporate also focusing on the energetics, right? And you can, there's plenty of information out there that you can look up energetic root causes of certain pain, illness, and disease. And you can also kind of see the correlation between the different chakras as well and the manifestations of that to kind of give you some deeper insight into where to focus your energetic healing. The next insight is any thought that does not bring you joy or inspiration is ego. Simple. Any thought that does not bring you joy, any thought that causes worry, anxiety, stress, self-hatred, blame, projection, resentment, anger, any thought that does not bring you joy is from the mind, from the ego-programmed mind. It is not a true thought. True thought, higher thought, are the thoughts of Source. And Source only has higher thought. So easy to tell when you're in the mind and when you're not. What you resist persists. What you look at, you let go of. Okay? Foundational principle. Anything you resist facing, anything you resist transforming, or you resist accepting, it will persist. It will persist and persist and persist until you accept it, until you look at it. And as soon as you look at something, you're accepting it. You're acknowledging that it's there. And then you let go of it. Next one. Accept, embrace, allow. So simple. Accept, embrace, allow. No matter what is presented to you in your external world or your internal world, you simply accept, embrace, and allow. Because then you are releasing all resistance. Because again, what you resist persists. What you accept, embrace, and allow can be healed, let go of, and solved. So you can also state these out loud. Again, these are actually in a guide that we have on our website called Insights of the Awakening. So if you'd like to, download it and write these down, please do, because you can state these out loud, and these will help you if you're in a position where you feel stuck, or maybe you're lacking clarity, you're feeling the resistance, whatever it may be. Triggers are treasure. Triggers are treasure. And this is kind of completely counterintuitive to the society that we live in now that says avoid triggers at all costs. Triggers are treasure because anything you do not like in another exists in you. This is the hardest one to gather. This is the holy grail, okay? If we can get this concept, this foundational principle, we can change everything. Okay, first of all, triggers are treasure. So every time you're triggered by a person, an event, an experience, anything outside of you, treat it as a treasure. Thank you for this trigger. Oh, this is a hard one. Thank you for this trigger because it's showing me something that is within me that I need to transform. And anything that you do not like in another exists within you. This is the nature of energy. So if there's someone that just triggers me up a storm, right? I don't like anything about them. I don't like anything they do. I don't like anything they say. They are literally triggering within me that unconscious energy that I'm not aware of. And that is why it triggers, because it is a match to some energy within that I don't want to look at, that I don't want to accept. about myself that I don't want to see. And so that vibration brings it up as a trigger. So when we avoid triggers, we're actually avoiding self-transformation. When we accept, embrace, and allow triggers, and we say, okay, triggers are treasure. What I don't like exists in me. Now I can pinpoint within myself what I need to accept, embrace, and allow. Heal, let go of, all those things. You can make quantum leaps in consciousness through understanding just that key principle. If something is not working for you, change it. If something is working for you, do not change it. Doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result is insanity. Key principle. So if something is working for you, no matter what that may be, if that is a routine that you have, if those are spiritual disciplines that you have, if that is whatever you do day to day is working for you, don't try to change it up because you're like, oh, it's getting monotonous. If it's working, don't change it. But if it's not working, you have to change it. Otherwise, we keep doing the same thing over and over and we expect change. And that is the definition of insanity. Thank you, Albert Einstein. So key principle. And the next one, we are all God with God. Key principle. We are all made from the energy of Source. So we are God with God, Source. We are not detached from God. We are not separate from God. There is nothing in existence besides those things that were not created from Source. Things like the ego mind, things like fear, hate, violence, all those things. Those were not birthed from Source. So they're not real. They're illusions. They are simply distortions of the real truth, right? But everything that is living and breathing and organic and birthed from Source is God. All God with God. Here's a big one that will trigger a lot of people. Source is feminine. It is the yin energy. It is the internal energy. The masculine is the equal balanced harmonics counterpart of Source. It's the external expression of Source. Both are the Godhead of balanced harmonics, masculine and feminine, but the feminine aspect is the actual prime source, the original source, which then birthed the masculine energy as one and the same. Because the feminine energy births. The feminine energy creates from within and births the masculine energy, which is the outer expression, the external expression. So they are one and the same, masculine and feminine as the Godhead, the mother and father Godhead, but the mother is the original prime source. Just like in As Above, So Below, we have the feminine here birthing life. Of course, that includes, the masculine energy, but the feminine's still the one that creates and births. So they're one and the same, they're balanced, but the feminine, the yin, the internal is the original source. And this is important to understand as the as above, so below concept that intertwines with the as within, so without concept. Because when we think about this journey and how we've lived in the third dimensional realm, we've been overly attached to the masculine yang energy, which means that we are so focused on our conscious expression, what we put a show on outwardly, how we dress, how we look, what we say, what we do. But in many ways, that's only a small part of our expression. Our unconscious expression is the internal energy that is not seen, that also expresses. And as you become more intuitive and more discerning, you will start to notice that no matter what someone shows you externally, you can still pick up their subtle energies. You can still feel the energy that is being hidden. And that's the feminine, that's the internal. And so, and when we look at, the state of the the planet as well, we've been trying to fix problems by fixing the external solutions, and which leads to more problems and more problems because we're not going to the true source, which is internal. And when we transform internally, it creates a change externally. That is the balance of yin and yang. The yang, the masculine energy, can only express what is internal, what is yin, what is the source. So if the outward expression is corrupted, it's because the internal expression is corrupted, right? So if what we see outside of us we don't like, we have to change our internal first before we can then express outwardly in a balanced way, and the source has now been transformed, the internal self. So that is the yin and yang energy, that is the as above, so below, and the as within, so without concepts. Awareness transforms into consciousness. I spoke about this in the ego video. The more you become aware of something, the greater your consciousness expands. Third dimensional state, limited consciousness because of limited awareness. The greater awareness, the greater consciousness. Love and the unknown are the only real energies in existence. Love and the unknown are the alchemical energies of source. It's all that exists. Everything else is a distortion of those things. So anything that is outside of love and the unknown is not real. So we can see how our obsession with knowing things and attaching to things and having proof and analytic and it's all, the unknown is all that's real. The unknown, the unlimited possibilities, endless, infinite, is the source of creation. Non-attachment is true freedom. That's the next one. When we are non-attached, we are in a state of surrender, we are in a state of flow, and that is the true freedom, because then we don't feel the need to hold on to anything. We don't feel the need to hoard. We don't feel the need to control. We don't feel the need to manipulate. Everything flows. That's freedom. That's true freedom. Be the change you wish to see. Simple, classic, but so true. You are the change you wish to see. Again, you have to change the internal in order for the external to change. Be the change, be the example that you wish to see in the external world. The present moment of now is where all things exist. The present moment is where all things come into one. The past and the past and the future only exist because you focus on them. Otherwise, it all converges into the present moment of now. Time is not linear. The moment is now. If you were to ask an animal what day it is, they would have no idea what you're talking about because they live in unconditional love. If you were to ask a baby what time it is, they would have no idea what you're talking about. They're in the now. Now, that's all that exists. Anything outside of that is illusion. Separation is an illusion. So another key one, anytime you feel separate from anyone or anything, it is an illusion. It's just a distortion. What is real will always remain. It's another key principle. So if you're ever questioning if something is true or not true, or something is real or not real, let it go. Let it go, and if it comes back, it's true. And if it keeps coming back, it's true and it's real. If it's not true or real, it'll evaporate, it'll leave. So everything that is real will remain. Nothing in existence can be known, only felt. So nothing in existence can truly be known because the only energies in existence are love and the unknown. So of course there are things we can know, we can understand them, right? But nothing is ever fully known because everything's infinite. So it can only be felt. Feeling is the real knowing. When you feel something on a deep level, that's the true knowing. Not trying to think you know it all. You just know the truth by the way that it feels. Next insight, I love this one. We don't know shit. Say it as many times a day as you need to. I don't know shit. This kind of disconnects us from that needing to know everything, needing to figure it all out, and just kind of surrendering, that we'll never know it all. And we're not meant to. We're not meant to know it all. We'd reach the end of something if we know it all. You've reached a linear point where you know it all. And that's impossible because we're always learning and coming to new knowingness. There are no mistakes. That is the next principle. There are no mistakes. Everything is a lesson or a blessing. So this dissolves regret, shame, guilt, all of those things. Because life is an experience. This journey is an experience. There are no mistakes. Everything is perfect because we make choices and decisions based on what our consciousness is at that moment. So it's perfectly designed for us in each present moment. When we know better, we do better. But there's no mistake because our higher self is specifically orchestrating certain events and experiences that are a match to our consciousness that are going to provide us a lesson or a blessing. And this is how we learn the true discernment. And we start to come into a greater attunement to what actions feel aligned and what doesn't. So there's never a mistake. There's never a regret. There's never a shame or a guilt about something. It taught you something. It blessed you or it gave you a lesson. Surrender is key. Surrender is always key. The more you fight, the more you resist, the more it persists. And surrender is not a giving up. That's a misconception. A surrender is an allowing, an understanding that this is a human experience. And there's going to be things that we go through, challenges, tests, lessons, blessings, and it's all just one and the same. It's all the spectrum of life. And so if we can surrender to things even when we don't like them, we then finally get the lesson, the full lesson, and we get the gift, the gem within that lesson. And that's the beauty of it. There's always a beauty and a positive within everything. Do not lead with words, lead with action, and lead by example is the next principle. So don't lead with words. Words are futile. Words are simply a mode of expression. They are not to be attached to. They're not to be overanalyzed. They're simply forms of expression. Lead with action. Lead by example. That is how others learn, is when there is an example of someone who went through the same experiences, who walked the same path, who took on the same challenges, who passed the same tests. That is how others learn, through example. We can see how, leading through words has very much deteriorated what we call education, because we've been educating through words and not examples. And that's why we have created a lot of dysfunction. So always lead by example. Take the higher route. Always, always, always. Even though you may wonder, why do I have to lead by example and no one else is? Well, because you've chosen to. We're all choosing our contracts. And be great because you are great, not because you need a validation or a gold star. Be great because you are great. Next insight is trust the process. Trust the process. Don't give up hope. Don't lose faith. Just trust the process, because Source is supporting us every step of the way, no matter what it looks like. And if you trust the process, you'll glide. You'll glide through everything. And there won't need to be repeated lessons and repeated tests. Next insight is, when in doubt, ask your angels for 3 synchronicities or confirmations. So if you're in doubt about an action, if you're unclear about which direction to take, ask your angels for 3 synchronicities or 3 confirmations. They're both the same thing. So if you really want to know the answer to a certain question, ask your angels to give you the signs. And so this can come through synchronistic events. This can come through direct confirmations, such as someone randomly, posts something that completely confirms what you were thinking about. You talk to someone and they give you a confirm on what you were feeling to do. There's a million ways that synchronicities and confirms can come, but if you are in doubt, ask for 3. And the final one is the greatest of all time. Do not take anything personally. Only the ego gets offended. This is a hard one for people. So nothing is personal. Nothing is personal. All is just energy being expressed, right? That's it. It's just energy being expressed. So when someone does something that hurts us in any way, it's not personal. It is their unconscious, wounded energy being expressed. If we do something that unintentionally hurts someone, again, not personal, it is an unconscious energy being expressed. If we say something and someone gets offended by it, it is because being offended means that your belief systems are being challenged. That is what offended means. And only the ego has belief systems. So when we try to avoid offending people, what we're really saying is we're avoiding challenging others' belief systems. And that creates a very unhealed world and a very unhealed environment. Because if we're not constantly challenging our own programmed belief systems, then we're never getting to the root of the truth. We're never unpacking and uncovering what illusions are within us, in seeking the full whole truth within our heart. So we put up these walls and barriers, and we avoid triggers, and we avoid being offended, and we avoid offending others and triggering others. And this is all just creating more and more and more internal illusions. So nothing is personal. Nothing. The universe is not personal. Source is not picking people out to punish. Source is not choosing certain people to have horrible negative experiences and choosing to bless others. Source doesn't work like that. It's not personal. It's all a response to the energy. Energy creates reflections of other energy. That's it. And everything is a lesson or a blessing. So you can see how all these insights intertwine, and these are really your foundational principles. So if you are ever spinning or triggered or offended or lacking clarity or whatever it is, go back to these guiding principles. And once we really anchor these in, the journey becomes a lot easier. And of course, we're going to be challenged on these. I've been challenged on these principles thousands of times, even though I know them inside and out. Many times we can forget them, and we can allow the programming to come back in. We can allow the dysfunction to come back in, and then we just go back to the principle, and we remember who we are, and we remember what's real and what's true, and we just keep focused on that. And really all these insights are just to bring us back to love, no matter what the situation or the event or the dynamic is. The principles are here. The insights are to just re-heart us to come back to love. So thank you guys for sharing the content which resonates with you. Any questions, please reach out. And of course, you can find more resources and guidance if you wish at our home website at 5dfulldisclosure.org. And I'll be back soon.